get angry? Are you going to get frustrated? Are you going to lash out at people? Are you going to start going down the spiral of negativity? Are you going to let this horrible situation dictate the way you feel and the way you handle it? Are you going to fall over and fall down and fall apart? Or are you going to lead? Are you going to face this issue with courage and with resolution? I say lead. Lead. Step up to the challenge. Be the one that other people look to. Absorb that impact. Absorb that negativity. Draw fire. Draw fire. That's when a member of a platoon, for tactical reasons, steps into the open to draw enemy fire. Maybe to give another part of his team the chance to move or distract the enemy. But that's what I say. Draw fire. Bring that pain to me. I can handle it when maybe others cannot. When bad things are happening, I am going to try and be the one good thing. The thing standing tall that can be relied upon. Because I know that attitude will spread. It will bolster those around me. And we will fight. And in fighting, we will win. And if not the battle, and if not the war, we will win because our spirit, it will never surrender. And that is the ultimate victory. To hold your head high, and even in the face of inescapable defeat, to stand and to fight. That is to win.
It is Winning Wednesday. We are back. I'm your host, as always, James, and joining me is my portly fellowed friend, Mr. Garrett Goldsberry. Not so jacked and tan, are we?
Oh, you're so pissed that I'm bigger than you.
This is literally our conversation while the intro was going on. Busting each other's balls, making fun of each other.
We got it, man. That's how we motivate each
right
other.
Where we left off on air.
Yep.
Garrett, you're a piece of shit. Get fucked.
Yep, thank you.
But it's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks since we had a Winning Wednesday. I've been dealing with some stuff personally, and just trying to fight to keep my head right. And it's a great topic for today's show because everybody goes through it. Life is hard. Life isn't easy. And even when you constantly are working at keeping your mind right, keeping your head right, there's things that happen that you don't expect that could change that very, very quickly. That for me was losing my dog. It still is very hard on me. He was my best friend, and I've been struggling with it ever since. But every day it's easier and easier for sure. But again, it's something.
Animals are always tough because people suck.
I'll take animals over people all day, and
I know,
and that's why one of the reasons this hurts so bad was because he truly was my best friend. Like, we literally did everything together, even though he lived in New Jersey and I was in Vegas. So I had him since he was 8 weeks old. He's a 100-pound monster, and he's my monster man. And he was like 12 pounds when we got him. So I raised him. I taught him how to play dead. I would go bang bang. He'd lay on the floor and play dead. We'd go on hikes, and we did so much stuff. We went to the beach. He was my beach cruiser. Rocky was. I would literally just put his leash on and get on my skateboard, and we'd cruise down to the beach. He'd run the mile to the beach, and We'd hang out on the beach together for the whole day. It's something that really, really hit me hard. It was very unexpected. I'm very thankful that I got to go home right for opening day, and I got to see him and spend some time with him.
I met him.
Yeah, you got to meet Rock Monster.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very, very difficult for me to handle, and I didn't handle it very well. I'm still not handling it well, but life goes on, and we got to keep it moving. And we got to, continue to do things to get your head right. And, I took a couple weeks off of going to the gym and doing the things that I do to keep my mind right. And, I kind of just sat in the misery for a little bit and just sulked in it. And I kind of needed it. And, I did a lot of self-reflecting and about life. And it took me to a really dark place. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't something that was a good reflecting. It definitely was hard, but it helped point out some things that I need to work on. It helped point out some things that I need to get better on as far as relationships with my family and things like that. It's not like my relationships are bad. It's just they can always get better.
Mm-hmm.
And,
always improving.
Absolutely. And it was just a very heavy weight that are still on my shoulders, and I still deal with every single day. And I miss that dog more than anything. And I would give anything just to, hug him one more time or play some fetch, throw the Frisbee with him. That's what he liked to do. But before we start talking about all this dark, negative stuff and getting me all sad, the U.S. Open is in Vegas this week, Garrett.
Oh, are you excited?
Good wrestling.
You're excited for good wrestling. Did you see what's his name? Roland Gardner coming in.
Dude, he lost 200 pounds or something like that.
I know.
He's 51 years old and a former gold Olympic medalist, and giving it another go. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't he on The Biggest Loser too, because he ballooned up to something like 400 pounds or something. He was huge. I mean, granted, he's a heavyweight, right? So he was a heavyweight Greco-Roman wrestler
when he won the gold medal. He wasn't like an in shape heavyweight. He wasn't like a Brock Lesnar who was yoked out of his mind. He was a fucking meatball when he won the gold medal in 2000. That was so long. I remember when he beat that Russian. That's honestly up there with the Miracle on Ice upset. That's how big of an upset his match was. He was
that Russian at the time was like a fucking war machine, bro.
Yeah, dude, he was like the 1980 Russian hockey team. He was supposedly
he was like Ivan Drago.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
This fat meatball guy came out and beat him, and it was unbelievable. I remember watching it as a kid with my father. But, and the guy's got a goal and he's setting his mind to it, and good for him. If he's able to still do it and get back out there, and, the knowledge didn't go away. He still knows how to execute a lot of the moves that he knows, but
yeah, the skills are there. It's the biggest thing is just the timing and the recovery. Me being, a 40-year-old, jiu-jitsu athlete at this point, I have to train different. I can't train every single day, super hard training sessions, 2 a days lifting like I did in my 20s and stuff. But, but at the same time, it's remember when Rocky was too old to fight? And he's like, you can't spar. Your joints are no good. You can't do this. You're this. So we're just going to build horsepower, muscle, and he's just slamming kegs and shit because he's the knowledge is there. How to fight. It's and you're tough, so you don't need to be oh, am I tough? But at the same time, it's just really preservation of your body, making it as strong as possible, and then putting that knowledge to there. The biggest thing that goes sometimes is your timing, though. You lose that. You hear him talk about losing a step in sports or anything, and it's just that timing where you had that quick, fast twitch muscle where you're all right, I'm going to go for an arm lock. And you're and you're on it. And then a couple of years down the road, your knees don't work as well. And you're I kind of have to set this up a little bit better instead of just jumping on it. Or you see it and you go for it and you're just that step off. So you're missing it a little bit now, or you're not having as high a success rate with it. So, I understand where the man's coming from.
I give him tons of respect, man. I give him tons of respect. Losing 200 pounds is not easy. And I'm sure it was similar to a Tyson Fury situation. I don't know much about his weight gain and why he gained so much weight. I haven't looked into that story. I'm sure it's public information if he's been on Biggest Loser, but I'd be willing to bet that, you know, after winning the gold medal, after, you know, reaching the pinnacle of his sport, because that is the pinnacle of wrestling, is the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
You know, is definitely the pinnacle. After achieving that goal, you know, it's one of those situations where, like, all right, I achieved the goal that I set out my entire life to achieve.
What do I do next?
Now what? Like, what do I do? And that's what happened to Tyson Fury. And I'm sure that's similar to what happened.
I don't know about you, but I think it's just like the type of person you are as well, because like you saw it happen to Tyson Fury, you saw it happen to Garner, but then you have guys like Dan Gable and Cael Sanderson that like just continued on War Machine path. Like they became the best coaches and they became, you know, the best recruiters, and they became, you know, some of the most winningest coaches of all time.
Well, I gotta be fair.
Maybe it's a weight thing too. Maybe the heavyweights have a harder issue than like.
Cael Sanderson was never a small guy. Like he was.
He won at 194 pounder. I think he won his last year.
Yeah, he was like, I think he went from 184 to 194 90s. So he wasn't a small guy, and he's still not a small guy. Like he's a very big dude. Like you see him after a guy wins a national title, and he, like when he picks up Bo Nickel, when Bo Nickel was there, like Bo Nickel,
child.
He's a big dude. Bo Nickel looked like a child compared to he yoked out of his mind.
And I think Bo fights. What's he fight? 185, I think.
Yeah, and Bo's a monster, dude.
Yeah, and he's fighting at 185, so you know he's walking at least 2 bills.
Taking my daily microdose, ladies and gentlemen. So the vitamins.
Microdose with a little ghost of Kiev.
Little ghost of Kiev. No, I don't think it's the heavyweights. I definitely think it's more mindset than the heavyweights.
Yeah, I think because you see those lighter weights, they, you know, who was it? I forget. They did a documentary on him, and they were following him around. And like after he won a national title, like he like went and just drank his face off and like ate painkillers and got all fucked up. They did a whole thing on him, and oh, you know who it was? He was a UFC fighter too, Gregor Giuseppe, I think it was.
Yep.
I think he had like a, you know, he like literally like showed up and he was talking about, you know, his problems with, you know, opiates and stuff like that and drinking. And he's like, you know, I won my national championship. And like, you know, hours later, I was like pretty much ODing on opioids, you know, like.
Well, that was kind of like me, you know, when I was wrestling, the diet, the discipline is so strict. It's so strict.
I know, but when you let the brakes off, it's like full send.
Well, seriously, this is a very similar story, not with opioids, but with food, because the discipline was so strict during wrestling season that I couldn't eat anything. Like it was like my lunches were fucking nothing. Like
What weight did you wrestle?
My senior year, I finished at 145.
All right, so you're probably would have been like naturally like 170, right?
Yeah, I walked around at 170 senior year, but I wrestled at 145. And after every single season of wrestling, like after region, I never made it to the States. I got knocked out in the regions every year. In Region 1, when Region 1 was the top dog region, with Phillipsburg, Kittatinny, all those schools that my high school never wrestled in dual meets. We never had any criteria against anybody. Literally, the only school that we had criteria against in Region 1 was Quantic. We had nothing. So after wrestling, after I got eliminated, I'd always go and I'd gorge. Like I'd go get a crave case at White Castle. Like I'd fucking go ham on eating. Like I've gotten sick on a few occasions because I was eating so much. And then after the season, like during the off season, like I would just eat whatever the fuck I wanted because I knew in a couple months, like that was coming to an end. Like that was going to stop. And that was coming to an end.
Then you gotta get back on the bus.
And I gotta get back on the thing. So I would eat like crazy, but then I stopped wrestling and I went, you know, a couple years not wrestling. And I got way out of shape. I didn't get fat, but I got out of shape. I was still eating like crazy.
Yeah,
And I was
okay.
always,
You always had the
always
wrestle
able
and the burn.
I was always able to outwork my diet because I always worked out heavy, and I took 2 years off of doing nothing. Like I was just smoking weed and selling drugs. That's when I got arrested for selling weed. And then after I got arrested, I got back into training in the MMA when I was 21, and it was a very rude awakening to get back into shape, especially fight shape. It was a very, very rude awakening.
I have a saying. I always say it's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape.
Oh, 1,000%.
I know, but a lot of people don't understand that. And I think that's why a lot of people quit is because they allow themselves to get so far out of the realm of like physically active that it's such a daunting task to just like walk through the gym. You're like, oh, this is going to be so hard. Oh, this is gonna, and they, but not everybody has that strong mind to just discipline and go one day at a time, man.
Not only is it harder to get in shape than it is to stay in shape, but it makes it even harder when you've been in shape, like you were previously in great shape, then you got out of shape, and then getting back into shape for the second time, because it's not only is it difficult physically because you're out of shape and you're tired and you're winded, but mentally it is way harder because not only do you have to deal with the physical exertion of working out, but now you have the mind game that you're playing with yourself. Because I'll never forget when I started working out again after my car accident, it was the biggest ego check ever. Like it was like I had to set everything aside and forget everything about my past and what I've done previously as far as physical exercise and working out, like throw that all out the window. That never existed. I never did any of that before, and start over from scratch, because I'm going into the gym and I was sedentary for 6 years from my car accident. I didn't do nothing. So I was terrified of getting hurt. I didn't want to, tear a ligament or a muscle or anything. So I started very, very light, very, very light. And I was doing repetition work, and I'm sitting here, I'm doing all this work. I'm like, man, I used to do all this like high intensity, explosive, like tire flips and like, I used to do all that stuff. And I like just imagining doing it now is like, oh my God. Like,
yeah. You ever see that meme where they're like, oh, I remember what my dad said. It's like that black dude. He's like, stop being a little bitch. That's what I'm saying to you right now. Stop being a little bitch. Just do it, man. It's so hard, and I get it, like that mental game, because like I just came off the ACL surgery and the meniscus surgery, right? So I went from being totally in shape, and then I'm working out, I'm doing stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got to sit, you're on the shelf, bro. And from somebody that trains for a living and teaches for a living, and I was having a lot of problems leading up to the surgery, so I couldn't train as much, so I felt myself starting getting out of shape, and I was getting that depression, like, man, I'm not going to be able to work out. And that's part of my mental clarity. What am I going to do? And that's when I started lifting, and I hate lifting.
So do
hate it. Fucking hate it. I didn't lift. I was always like, dude, I'd rather wrestle for 3 hours than go fucking flip a tire or pick up or deadlift or whatever it is. But it put me in a space where like the only thing I could do was lift. So I just put myself in this mental headspace. It's like, I'm going to get fat as fuck not being able to walk for a year. So I need to do something, right? So as soon as I went and I hit my PT hard, where I would treat it like a training session. So I'd be the only person in that PT, got the old people like doing their shoulders. I'm sweating. Like I have a towel and I'm like walking and I'm doing one-legged squats and trying to do everything I can. And then finally they cleared me and they're like, oh, you can go to the gym. I was like, perfect. I went to the fucking gym. I paid for a personal trainer because I couldn't even pick the weights up and like move them and rack them because I couldn't hurt my knee. So I'm like, dude, train me. And realistically, I just need you to move the weights for me and set me up. Like, that's what we need to do. I'll take all your guidance. I'm a student, whatever it is. And we lifted for probably about 6 to 8 months. And I was like, all right, now it just became my thing. And I was doing 3 times a week. And then in the summer, I would only do 2 times a week. I would back off a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like we were a year in, and my personal trainer's like, dude, I'm getting a new job. Like, I can't train you anymore, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? So then I was like, all right, well, he gave me all this knowledge. I have all this knowledge because I train people all the time. I'm like, I'm just going to go to the gym by myself and lift. So now this has been probably another 6 months, but now I go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, where I was only training twice a week. I train harder than I ever did with my personal trainer, but it was just that mindset. Like now I wake up, have my coffee, go to the gym, get my hour, dude, even today was like a quick one. I went in there for 45 minutes, boom, but I had to get the sweat, I had to get the pump, had to get the lift because I knew I was going to be on with you. And then I got to teach all night. So I'll get my wrestling rounds in tonight. But it's just like, you got it. It teaches you the discipline. Like, I don't like lifting weights. I do it because I'm supposed to. And that's what's going to happen. And that's what's going to make me stronger. And I think a lot of people nowadays, and everybody's built different. So I'm just telling you my mindset, right? Like, I don't do it because I like it. I do it just because what I'm supposed to do. And a lot of people lack discipline nowadays.
Yep.
They want the instant feel good. And that's like lifting. It's not instant. Like it's gradual growth. Like you might be stuck at the same weight for a while. And then all of a sudden one day you have the breakthrough and now you're stronger. Or, you might just be like, oh man, my belly's still kind of here. Like me, like my diet's not perfectly on point. So in my head, I just say, I'm going to make sure I'm big enough. My chest and my shoulders outgrow my belly. So like that's just kind of the way I look at it. I said it to my trainer. I'm like, just make sure my neck and my shoulders are bigger than my belly. That's it. Because I'm not super strict on the diet. Now I'm going to make a change in the next couple of weeks where I am going to tier my diet a little bit different just because I wanted to kind of play with something. And Rand's making the switch and she cooks all my food. So like when she makes the switch, I inadvertently have to make the switch. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Which is fine though, because she's super, like, I give credit where credit's due. She is super good and super disciplined with her food, like super disciplined. Food, calorie, meal size, everything else. She's so good. She puts them in little plastic containers like meal to go things for me, and it's just like
that's amazing.
Yeah, she wants to start her own food prep business, so we're working on that. But with the price of food and everything else, like she's been wanting to do it forever, and I support her. What everybody always asks, because like she posts like, oh, kids lunch, this, that, and everybody's like, can you just make my food for me? And she's like, well, yes, I can, but the only issue with that right now is like you got to be so spot on with your price cost ratio because the price of everything's going through. So like,
is it going to be? It's up and down too. It's like it's all over the
sliding scale. So you have to kind of make you might have to adjust prices and people might get pissed and everything else. But like at the same time, like you have no control over that. You know what I'm saying?
As of right now, none.
Well, it's just like, you add eggs to a salad. Well, if eggs are $62 a fucking egg, well, that fucking meal costs like $300.
That's what I'm saying. Like a dozen eggs is $10 by me, dude. $10 for a fucking dozen eggs. Like I go through a dozen almost like in between me and my dog almost every 2 days.
A dozen eggs doesn't last. I'm the only person in the whole house that doesn't eat eggs.
I know you're a fucking wacko.
I can't. They make me sick.
The point I was getting at, Garrett, is it's very difficult to get back into shape when you've already been in shape because of that mind game. Like I've already done this. I was already capable of it. Now you're walking into the gym and you're like, all right, I can't lift what I used to lift. I can't work out the way I used to work out. So not only do you have to deal with the daunting task of the physical workout.
Would you take that as discouragement or motivation? Like you personally?
Me personally, I took it as discouragement.
Right?
So I had to fight through it. Yeah.
And I just want to, to obviously to our listeners, like that's how James looks at it. Like I look at it as a challenge. Like fuck this, I'm going to be stronger. Fuck this. Like that's just my mindset, right?
I said I'm going to get stronger.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying, like it was like it doesn't matter. Two guys who've trained their whole life, two guys who've competed their whole life, two guys who have had injuries and had to come back and do all this other shit. Like we still have these debates in our heads.
Yep.
Am I strong enough? Am I good enough? I used to be able to do that. Now I can't. Am I losing a step? But this is what I think is so important that we have to stress is discipline.
Yes, absolutely. I still get it done. That's the thing. Even though I'm having this mental battle in my head and I'm disappointed in myself.
Gotta go do it.
It's not even that I'm disappointed.
Do you feel better though when you're done? You're like, fuck it. I feel better, man.
Yeah, I feel better when I work out 100%. But it's still like I still reflect. Like I write down. I have a notebook that I bring with me, and I write down all of my sets and everything that I'm doing, just so I can track and see my improvements. And it's something that for me,
which
I'm
is wild. Not to cut you off, but which is wild because and this just goes to show how people are so different, right? Like James tracks his sets. I'm talking to everybody out there in the interwebs. James tracks all his sets so he can do progress. Like my wife, she has the watch so she can track her things and all that other stuff. Now me, I fucking lift till I fucking throw up. That's how I gauge if my workout was good. Like I work out till I can't pick my arms up. Is it the right way? I'm not saying it's the right way. It's just the way I'm built. Like I don't track anything. I'm like, the other day I was like, I even grabbed the wrong weights and I'm like, and I'm like, I just did 85 dumbbells for 10 reps when like I used to do 70s for 10 reps and struggle. And I picked up the wrong fucking dumbbells and I repped them out and I put them down and I was like, well, shit, if I could do 1085s, that means I could definitely do 100s.
Knock you the fuck out, you
No,
you know what I'm saying? No, like it's just 100%. Everybody's different, man.
100%. But it wasn't like discouraging that I couldn't do what I used to be able to do. It was more disappointment that I felt. I felt more disappointment than anything.
Yep, I understand.
I let myself get this bad. That and granted, the injury played a huge role in that. But at the same time, like.
But it also made it easier for you to make excuses, right?
Well, no, I physically, I actually couldn't do anything while I was.
Oh no, I've got it, but like, dude, I've had multiple injuries, spine injuries, neck injuries, everything else, right? But like, you start to like put your, and I'm just saying, like, I know me personally, like, you start, and I can see it just from knowing you and talking to you. You start to put yourself in that box. And you're like, well, I can't do it. Like, my lower back's killing me. Just had shots in it, and I'm like, I can't do this stuff anymore. And doctors are telling me I can't do like certain lifts and certain movements. And then I'm like, well, if I can't do that, how am I supposed to strengthen it without injuring myself? So I get in this weird spot where I only can do a certain exercise, but I know I got to do the lower back core shit. But like anytime I do it, lights it on fire. So like, that's my internal debate right now. I'm trying to figure out how to make like my core stronger without overdoing it where I don't walk for a week.
It's a constant battle, Garrett. It's a constant battle, and you have to train smart because you hurt yourself, you're shelved.
Then you can't do nothing.
You're beat.com. So you have to train smart.
Beat.com, he says.
but you're beat.com.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you were saying, like we've been training our whole entire lives, and people who I don't know about you, but I look at other people who are successful in their field.
Mm-hmm.
The feelings that I have in a lot of situations, you never put that on someone else who's already successful. You never like look at somebody and say, oh man, they probably feel the same way about certain situations that I do right now. You always put them on a pedestal, but when in reality, they have the same exact feelings. And I was just listening to Ric Flair on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Woo! Come on, you better have a pad with Ric Flair.
The Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, jet stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying. Oh my God. And I'm having a hard time
holding these alligators down.
I love it.
No, he's an icon, dude. He's a icon.
He's just on Rogan, right?
Just on Rogan. I'm halfway through the episode. It's awesome. I'm a big wrestling fan, like classic old school WWF and WCW. Like I'm a huge wrestling fan. I was telling Garrett off air, I'm currently in 1997. I started in 1996. The NWO was formed in 1996. And I'm watching the Monday Night Wars all over again. So I'm on 1997. I just finished the WWF Royal Rumble with Stone Cold Steve Austin won. It's fucking amazing. It's fucking awesome. Like I'm loving it.
Look at his smile, just reliving his childhood.
I fucking love it. It makes me so happy. But I'm watching Ric Flair, and growing up watching Ric Flair and seeing his persona, and then after I got out of that huge wrestling phase where I loved wrestling, I still was always a fan of Ric Flair, and he's like a pop culture icon at this point. He's not even a wrestling icon; he's a pop culture icon.
Dude, he's got his own gifts on your phone all the time. Like, woo!
Dude, he's got everything. He's in the cannabis business now.
I know.
He's got woo juice. Woo juice.
Did you take a woo chew?
No, I want to get some though.
I was gonna say I'm not an eater. I'm not an eater of the marijuana. So
I have, bro,
bro,
5,000 milligrams ready to go.
what is wrong with you?
I ate 500 the other day and it didn't do nothing.
You're like Joey Diaz, bro.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. I think it was hilarious when we all went up for our what do we call it? Our domestic terrorist meeting. When we went up to Skaggs, and like you're just ripping blunts all day, ripping blunts, right?
Well, that's what I do on a daily basis. What do you mean?
Dude, I understand it, like, but Steve saw it in like real life, and he was like, dude, I don't understand. He was just ripping blunts all day, and it was like he was fine. He's like, I would have been dead. I remember Cap at one point, he looks at me, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. And he literally
I was already rolling up the next one, right?
I know, he's texting me, he's like, I'm so fucked up. I'm like, that's why I didn't touch it. I ain't even trying to hang with him, bro.
Yep, and that's why that's some Jersey weed. But
that was just some Jersey weed.
But and I'm about to pack a bowl as we speak. But I'm watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's talking about how he lost his confidence. Ric Flair.
I know, it's crazy, right?
How he lost his confidence. Like, you watch this man on TV, you watch this man do public appearances, he just exudes confidence. Looks like the most confident human being that ever existed. Like, no fucks ever given whatsoever. And it was amazing to me to hear him speak about this. And he's like, yeah, I lost my confidence twice in my life, like bad. Like, Vince McMahon called me up and he's like, yo, or Triple H called me up and he's like, yo, I think you're the only person that doesn't know who Ric Flair is. Like, everybody else in the world knows who Ric Flair is. And you're sitting here is sulking because you don't even know who the fuck you are. But everybody else does, because everybody sees Ric Flair on TV. So my point being is that, you know, you see personas, you see people do certain things, and you put them on a pedestal like, oh, they don't have these feelings that I have. Like, they're just better than me because of this, that, and the other. Or they could do it because this, that, and the other. Nah, they go through the same emotions, the same feelings, the same fears that the average individual goes through. They still have them just like we do. Just we don't know about it because either A, they don't talk about it, they hide it better, or they're persona on TV just projects a totally different image, but behind closed doors, they're totally different human beings. And
I think you see that with a lot of celebrities. I mean, not to switch gears and go down this dark rabbit hole, but like, look at all the like Britney Spears and Biebers and all those people that. What's that? Yeah, Amanda Bynes. Like, look at all these people that are on stage, larger than life, and they're dancing, and you would have to have the. I know.
It's much different. They're diddling those kids. Those kids are being abused on levels that we can't even comprehend.
I said, shut it. We're on YouTube. Shut up.
They're all pedophiles, Donnie. Donnie, they're all pedophiles.
I know.
It's that great fucking Big Lebowski meme.
Yep.
Walter's screaming at Donnie. You're out of your element, Donnie.
Yeah.
You're out of your element.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Is this your homework, Larry?
Yeah.
But the real, like, if you're going through some of those emotions in any situation in life, realize that they're normal. Realize that everybody has these kinds of feelings. Everybody goes through those ebbs and flows of life. It's not, nobody is exempt from those types of feelings and emotions, and doesn't matter how successful you are. And I say all the time, you see people that have everything that they could possibly want. They're the most successful people in the world, but they're depressed.
Miserable.
They're depressed. And then you go and you see somebody who has nothing, literally nothing, and they're some of the most happy, joyful people in the world. And
this might come off bad, but like, I've seen, let's say construction workers of Hispanic descent. That is the nicest way I could say it. On a Friday with a fucking case of Corona, and they are having a fucking blast after work, and they don't have money. They're all living in a house together, everything else, but like, they're just like, woo. woo, like Ric Flair style. And then you see like, John Paul Gaultier over there with his Bentley and this one and that one. And he's just sitting in his house by himself.
He's miserable. He has no enjoyment.
It's perspective, right? Like I think let's switch gears here a little bit for a second. Like it's perspective.
Switch gears.
I do. But it's perspective because I mean we're all guilty of this, and I can say honestly I've been guilty of this too. You have a bad day, and I heard a great quote the other day. It's like just because you have a bad day doesn't mean you have a bad life. Right. And I've been totally guilty of this where I've had a bad day where, like, I don't know, me and Rand are fighting, whatever. And I'm like, this sucks. I don't even want to live this life. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's shit. And then, like, I have to talk myself down. It's like, you have a great life. Like, you just had a bad day, dude. That's
where I was past couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I was really fucking miserable. Like, I was just so depressed and so sad and I was angry, honestly. I was just fucking angry.
It's every emotion, right?
And, I was like, fuck, like it is what it is. Like we all go through it, man. And you're right. You can't let a bad day ruin everything else and realize. I
mean, listen, everybody wants to have more money, especially when you don't have money, it fucking sucks.
But Garrett,
it is miserable. But there's also like a point, like I've heard people say, even like wealthy people, they're like, when is it too much money? Like, when is it like just counterproductive?
Never.
Well, it's nice to have fuck you money.
Never. It's definitely very nice to have fuck you money. Never ever is it too much, in my opinion. Because when you have those kinds of resources, there's so many more things that you could do. It all depends on your personality. Like, again, you could be the wealthiest person in the world and still be a miserable fuck and hate life and not find any enjoyment. But when you have those unlimited resources, then you can then do things that you enjoy. Like, you just have to find the things that you enjoy. Like, the problem is a lot of these people, they get unlimited resources and they don't find the things that they enjoy. Like, there's a lot of
trying to live the other rich people's lives.
Exactly.
And not live their own.
There's a lot of things that I would love to do and learn how to do and get into, but there's a very large dollar amount that goes along with that. That
if you had fuck you money, what is the first thing you would do that like you would learn? That money doesn't matter. I don't have to go to work. Like, boom.
First thing would to get my wingsuits to fly a wingsuit. That'd be the first thing.
So you'd be dead the first day you had money.
That's on my goal board. It's already on my, like, if I die and I don't fly a wingsuit, I didn't live life. If I die and I don't fly a wingsuit, my life sucked.
Okay.
I need to do that before I die. Okay. Second.
That's definitely not on my list, but go.
Second would become a rally racer, learn how to rally race and drive fucking fast cars in dirt, and that looks so much fucking fun. And like then I would
that's
probably what I would do. But I would also want to go and surf and snowboard in all these great places all over the world. Like, I would love to go and travel the world and surf some of the greatest beaches and snowboard some of the greatest mountains in the world. Those are some of the things that I would do immediately.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you do? All right. So that was selfish James just doing for himself. Yes. What would you try to do for humanity?
For humanity?
That's a tough one, right?
Well,
there's so many things.
There's so many things. But if I had Elon Musk money.
Yeah, fuck you money. Doesn't matter.
Fuck you money. Well, no, there's a limit, like, because there's levels to that fuck you money. You know what I'm saying? There's levels.
All right, like Phoenician family. Boom, go. Yeah. You got that type of clout, bro.
Well, then I'm hiring.
You're Illuminati. You're fucked.
No, I'm hiring scientists that are familiar with Nikola Tesla's work, and I'm figuring out how to build free energy to give free energy to the world, because we know it exists, we know it's real, we know it's there.
Dude, they just cut us off and made us go weird, and our cameras go weird as soon as you talked about free energy.
Yep.
Every time, dude.
Every time. Hi, FBI. Hello,
Federales.
But that's what I would do. That's literally the first thing that I would do, humanitarian wise, is figure out a way to get free energy to the masses, because we know it exists, we know it's real, we know that
and that's how they control us.
The technology is available to us, but the government controls us. So, okay, I have unlimited money. and I have fuck you money. Like, for example, Elon Musk, he does a lot of work with the DoD. He's the number one contractor for the DoD is SpaceX. Why not use some of those connections if you truly wanted to help humanity? Why not use some of those connections to bring in free energy to the American public? We know it exists. Like, this is not some conspiracy. Like, this is not something that, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I wish we had free energy. It's like, no, it's been discovered by Nikola Tesla and
no. So I'm getting into Tartaria. Okay. It was way before Tesla. Tesla rediscovered it.
I'm well aware of this, but I'm just saying, like, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole,
out there in the recent future.
If you want to really go down the rabbit hole, then we'll get into Tartaria. But I'm just saying, like, there's people alive today that were alive when Nikola Tesla was alive and doing his inventions. He died in, I think 1948 was the year he died.
I would have to look it up.
I'm pretty sure because there was a New York Times article in 1942
Yep.
of him talking about the death ray and how he's working with the U.S. government to protect our borders, our coastlines with the death ray. But
1943.
He died in 1943?
July 10th, 1943, 86 years old.
So again, people were alive still today. They were young, but they were alive when he was creating his invention. So this is not like Tartaria where we're talking hundreds of years ago.
Just think about the World's Fair, how quick they built them and lit those things up.
Dude, that's one of my favorite rabbit holes in the fucking
World's Fair is awesome, right? Like, you go down that, man, because, like, think about it, they built these beautiful cities and now they're just gone. Like, they built them in a
St.
year.
Louis, in St. Louis, they built like a full-on lake, a man-made mountain moat, and put fountains, and they made crystal palaces, and like there was the Crystal Palace in England for the England World Fair that they transported. They moved it like a crystal palace made out of everything. The entire thing was crystal. The walls, everything, crystal. They moved
crystal screws, crystal nuts, crystal drivers.
They moved it. Like, not only did they build it, they moved it.
With the technology of 1912 or 1913.
Down in the 1930s. Like,
yeah. It's
what?
insane. It's insane.
What?
Will you look it up? I know you're going somewhere.
Alice, England. It was a fucking full-blown. Yeah, here it is.
Crystal, that moves energy and electricity too.
Oh, no, that's the Wikipedia. I want the photo, not the fucking. All right, here we go. Screen share. Dude, this entire building is made out of glass. Like, look at this. That's all crystal. That whole building, huge. It's fucking
they moved it.
Monstrous. Like, look at.
Yeah, that's big.
Let's see. That's not it. It was fucking like, look at this thing. Look at how big this was.
Make it bigger.
I'm trying to.
You're failing.
Miserably. I'm aware. This was all made out of crystal. Look how big that fucking building is.
Dude, that's like an airplane hangar.
Built. When was this built? It burnt down in the 1930s.
It burnt down? How did it burn down if it was crystal?
It was built in 1851.
How did it burn down?
1851, it was built entirely out of crystal. 128 feet high, 60,000 panes of glass. 1851. How long did it take to build? Yeah, it was relocated. Look, after the exhibition, the palace was relocated to an open area of South London known as Pengy Palace. Jesus Christ.
They probably built it in like 2 weeks.
I love how they call it the Great Exposition. It's actually the World Fair.
Yeah.
Actually, look at that. Look at that. The World fucking Fair. When was it built? 1851, but how long did it take to build?
Think about how much that would cost to move and rebuild today. Even though we have all the equipment, all the tractor trailers, all the planes,
In
all
1936, it was destroyed. Right around the same time, the Hindenburg went down.
when they're trying to hide this stuff.
All these things of the old world.
I've been starting to dive down the old world rabbit hole a little bit lately, bro.
Yet? Have you gotten in the Zeppelins yet?
We've talked about it a couple. I went into it a little bit. I'm not super deep, but like basically how they were like, the Eiffel Tower was like charging station. That's why it was
Empire State Building. Empire State Building. Charging stations for Zeppelins. And people have been flying Zeppelins all over the world since the 1800s. Like they were traveling on Zeppelins all over the world. And it was free.
I know.
And the reason, like, for example,
they were saying that's how the Egyptians
this photo
traveled.
right here, the reason why this photo, the sky is whitewashed, there's no clouds, is apparently a lot of the old photos they whitewashed to hide the Zeppelins that were flying in the sky.
Ooh.
Like, if you look at any old photo, they're all whitewashed.
Yeah, sure.
There's no clouds in any of these old photos.
So you think that was like you think like the Zeppelins were like the people's cars back in the day?
I think that they
or
were
like the people's buses.
They were the modes of transportation, 100%. 100%. I mean, they had charging stations. They were free. There was no energy. It was free.
And then there was the Hindenburg disaster in Jersey, right?
Think about the Hindenburg. The whole reason, it was like only like 13 people that died. There wasn't a huge death toll that died. But think about it. They said it wasn't safe for travel anymore, and they immediately banned them everywhere just because of one accident where planes crash all the time. Planes are not the safest fucking modes of transportation. Just one crash. So imagine one plane went down and they crashed. I'm like, oh, we can't use planes anymore, guys. What was invented in 1912, Garrett? What was invented?
Airplane.
1912?
Airplane, right?
And the Hindenburg went down in what year? 1936?
I think so.
Let's see. Let's get out of fucking Zeppelin. These things were like, look at this. Look at how they were fucking docking on ships.
It's crazy, dude.
This is how they were docking, dude. This is how they get energy. This is the U.S. Navy. Imagine seeing these things flying in the sky.
Dude, it's fucking wild. It's wild. I think next Waiting Wednesday we'll dive down this because I gotta get out of here right now.
All right, we will dive down this rabbit hole. But these things were fucking
enormous,
massive, dude. Fucking massive. Like, look at these things floating in the sky. Like,
no, but that's the thing. They're floating, but the people are just in the little boxes on the bottom.
Yeah,
that's all filled with what, hydrogen? They said.
Yeah. It's like there's apparently like the insides were huge. They were fucking like very, very luxurious. They were fucking huge,
like space stations.
Yeah, like.
All right, we're going down this rabbit hole next week.
If we remember, we're gonna.
If we remember exactly,
we're gonna go down this rabbit hole, but 100%. But it was a fun winning Wednesday, Garrett. I'm glad.
Yeah, always is. So keep your heads on the swivel, kids.
Look at how big those are, dude.
Nazis had them. That's why they got rid of them too.
We had them too, dude.
Everybody had them. That's how they traveled, dude.
And it's fucking crazy. But we'll be back next week with some more Winning Wednesday. Tune in tonight. Me and Alan are doing our first ever Twitter space. So follow us on Twitter, WPRUSA17. We'll be live tonight. Go gangbang the government as we usually do. We're not going to be talking this positivity nonsense. We'll be back next week talking some Zeppelins. Come hang out with me and Alan on Friday. We might have a special guest. Next week, we got Mostly Peaceful Latinas on Tuesday. So it's going to be a fun week. Shout out to our sponsors.
Nice.
Kush Creams. Serious CBD and My Page Cigars. We'll be back next week. Until next time, guys. Where we go one, we go all.
Sometimes bad things, horrible things happen to good people. I don't know why, but life isn't fair. That's the reality. A good person in the wrong place, in the wrong time, can can end up just a victim of fate and of reality. And it can be horrible and heart-wrenching. But when those bad things happen to people around you, what are you going to do? How are you going to lead? Are you going to get angry? Are you going to get frustrated? Are you going to lash out at people? Are you going to start going down the spiral of negativity? Are you going to let this horrible situation dictate the way you feel and the way you handle it? Are you going to fall over and fall down and fall apart? Or are you going to lead? Are you going to face this issue with courage and with resolution? I say lead. Lead. Step up to the challenge. Be the one that other people look to. Absorb that impact. Absorb that negativity. Draw fire. Draw fire. That's when a member of a platoon, for tactical reasons, steps into the open to draw enemy fire. Maybe to give another part of his team the chance to move or distract the enemy. But that's what I say. Draw fire. Bring that pain to me. I can handle it when maybe others cannot. When bad things are happening, I am going to try and be the one good thing, the thing standing tall that can be relied upon, because I know that attitude will spread. It will bolster those around me, and we will fight. And in fighting, we will win. And if not the battle, and if not the war, we will win because our spirit, it will never surrender. And that is the ultimate victory. To hold your head high, and even in the face of inescapable defeat, to stand and to fight. That is to win.